Hello everyone, it's me, Broken Mojo, and welcome to another episode of MOJODraws. Today I'm drawing everyone's favorite booty imp, Midna. Now that that's out of the way, this is the November video, right at the tail end of November. You know, gotta maintain that schedule. I'm going to try to do at least one art video every month from now on. It's just going to be separate from all the animations and whatever else I might put out. This is part of my, I guess, struggle to upload more content here and provide something more consistent. You know, with animations, I'm in a position right now where I'm not going to be able to be a YouTube animator and upload something like every month. I can be a YouTube animator that uploads something every couple of months, but that's not really feasible in a financial sense. I'm trying to make this sort of something I do that gives me some income that is substantial enough to where it can be self-feeding. Like the money I earn from this can be used to sort of buy time for myself so I can continue to do this. Otherwise, I just have to take on bunches of commission work, which that just leads to an entirely different thing that doesn't feed back into this. So that's what we got to do. But Midna, why am I drawing Midna, you ask? Why am I drawing the booty imp? Well, I have this list of various ideas that I have for art videos, things or whatever, and on it was Midna, and there wasn't any descriptor to that. There was no other thing besides an entry that said Midna, so here I am. I suppose I could talk about the Legend of Zelda series, Midna or whatever, but you know, this whole video is going to be a large amount of me bullshitting and trying to fill dead air, as every video that any YouTuber uploads, and just dead air and shit, unless they're making a video essay, you know, trying to be all fancy, write everything down. No, I'm doing this all ad hoc. You get to hear all my ums and ems as I struggle to grasp something to speak about. But, I mean, Midna for me, I find her easy to draw. I know the helmet's a massive pain, and you have to pull up, like, egg references for it, and I'm like, whatever, you know. Typically, if I'm doodling and it comes to her, you can just sort of draw the helmet, and you don't have to put all that garbage onto it. Just some little squiggly lines will suffice, and that sort of conveys that it's Midna for complex hat, you know. Look at her fat ass. That's what people are going to be looking at. The thunder thighs and shit. Midna. Well, I know why other people like her. Yeah, certain other people. Because, I mean, it's just one of those, she's one of those characters that people just draw a lot of smut of. A lot of Rule 34. And it's, I mean, like with any character like this, I always trace it back to the actual, like, in-game model, the character design from maybe the cartoon or whatever, like the actual original media where she appeared in. And then I look at that, and from there I sort of judge, like, is this true? Like how horny is this design? You know, a lot of the times when you trace it back, if it's a Pokemon, I mean, it's going to be literally 0% horny. You know, but furries and other horny people, they'll work for it. They will transfer their own sort of horny energy onto that, and some sort of Rule 34 will flow out of that. Typically, that involves taking the design's head, unscrewing it, then screwing it back onto whatever horny body type the artist is good at drawing. If an artist draws huge, thick butts, they'll draw a sort of mannequin with a huge, thick butt, and then screw on for alligator's head or something like that. Now, that's not actually how they draw, but I mean, that's sort of what they do at the end of it, you know. If an artist draws big butts, they're going to draw a big butt, and something's going to be attached to that big butt. That's sort of the purpose of the image. With Midna here, if we look at her in-game model, and maybe I'll throw something up here to illustrate that for a second. We can see that she is a little imp goblin thing, you know, El Goblino, La Creatura. It's not like, you can see that there's feminine curves there, but they're so like, I get a chibi, you know, super deformed that like, maybe, I don't know. Maybe people thought too much of the little naked imp bouncing on the wolf's back, and they just, that was enough for them. They just went on and took that idea to its fruition. But I mean, she is technically nude, so that could be something that they could go along with, you know. In reality, it's funny because at the end of Twilight Princess, you see Midna's true form as her like princess form or whatever, and she's like a stereotypical curvy bombshell with what basically amounts to covered in body paint. She's naked, covered in body paint. Well, I think she has like a little skirt or something, a loincloth thing or whatever. But the little imp design's more popular. It's probably, if you want to be honest, it's her personality. It really is. Throughout the game, she's sort of spunky, I guess. I don't know if I should really be talking about this without first giving a sort of warning that I have not played the Twilight Princess in many years, and I honestly have forgotten everything about it. But if I played through it again, it would be one of those scenarios where I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember this. Oh, this is all coming back to me now. But until I do that, 99% of the information about that game is walled off behind just useless memories and things like that. But if I would surmise to recollect what her personality was, she was the spunky type, sort of cute and whatever, you know, slightly malicious. And that's sort of appealing, you know. That's I can see how that would be appealing to certain people, because when someone's in that certain age range, from like 8, and I'm speaking about guys here. When a guy is from like 8 to 13, 15, or whatever, that's a pretty good range there. But you gotta realize that some people, when they come into contact with characters, they will be in contact with that characters like as sort of part of their cultural identity for many years. Like someone who plays Twilight Princess when they're 10 is probably going to play it a few more times into like the 13s or whatever, and they will sort of cross that threshold where the puberty starts up, and they will start to sort of see things in a different light. And that's really all it takes. So if someone who's in that sort of vulnerable, weakened state, a guy in that vulnerable, weakened state sees certain characters. My favorite one to bring up is Crystal from Star Fox, because that's the one that is most obvious to anyone. They will sort of develop that attachment to that character. They will sort of, in their brains, they will have the character floating, and they'll click on it and drag this little line out of it to horny, and they'll sort of connect those together, and it's like fused together, you know. And they may do this many years down the line. They'll just be on some forum somewhere, or they'll be shit posting on 4chan, and they'll just see some Rule 34 image with Midna with a ginormous, huge, slightly off model ass, and they'll be like, huh, that makes my dick twitch. What to do about this? And they'll find something to do about that. But that's all it takes. And thus the character gains this sort of internet cultural thing connected to it. Like Renamon. There's Renamon and Digimon Tamers, and then there's Renamon on the internet. And those are two completely different things. And that's and if you hear some sort of weak cries coming from somewhere, that's my cat being a big baby. Sad about the fact that has to be locked in its own private room. Sad about the fact that it can't come up to the door and grab onto it and start shaking it violently because they are so miserable that they're not in the same room as me. But anyway, where was I? I can't even remember. Stupid cat. Whatever. Midna's she's one of those characters who has like that. Here she is in the game doing things, and then here she is on the internet doing things. And when I encounter characters like that, I always think about it like, okay, how is this character? How close is she to her sort of in media personality compared to the on the internet personality? How close are those two things together? And if people, because it's interesting to me to see how close the personalities are. Like if we take someone like Renamon from Digimon Tamers and look at her personality or whatever, its personality, I don't know if it has a gender, it can be quite different from the horny. The closest you can get to it is when like you'll see those images of not that any of you will ever have seen these images, so you're not going to be knowing what I'm talking about, obviously. But you see those images where let's say that she has gathered too much data, or her trainer has downloaded certain enhancements into her and she's like just confused or annoyed about it. That's the closest you can get to her in media personality. But typically, a lot of the images you'll see of her are just generic horny images. Like she'll be in various lewd predicaments. She'll be doing something that's dumb and slutty. It's just like that, and then the characters pasted over that. There's a horny concept over there, and they take these despicable Rule 34 artists take it and just plaster it over it. And I'm not trying to be mean here. It's just I just find this to be funny. I take humor in how this just is happening. How all these characters can exist, and just there's people out there who will just take them and be horny with them. It's amusing to me. It's amusing. And no, like obviously I'm one of them. Obviously I'm one of them. Or at least I've done it before. We can all be certain of that. Very certain. But not here. Not here. Here I'm a clean boy. Very clean. But Midna is like, not that I look at any of these images, and I'm certain none of you do, but if we look at the copious amounts of Rule 34 of her, we can see that we like I'm a scientist or something right now. I'm a researcher with a long extended stick pointing and giving this huge PowerPoint presentation to a bunch of idiots in a room. They're just like, what the hell? What the fuck is this furry doing in here? Someone kick him out. Fuck him off. But yeah, she has that like spunky personality or whatever. Like she's sort of like, haha, makes fun of you or whatever. She bullies you with her huge ass, or Link more rather. So like we can see that like her sort of her horny personality, her horny Rule 34 internet artist personality is, I would say it's like above average, close to what her actual personality is. That's my research. I don't know if anyone wanted to know that, but that's sort of like my my conclusion after much research. I'm sorry. It's like 3 a.m. I'm rushing to get this done, so I'm like giddy or whatever. hopefully you will also find this humorous and not pathetic. Whatever. But what I find personally attractive about MIidna, and to use a different word, appealing, and to use a different word from that to sort of separate it from anything you might be suspecting. What I find appealing about MIidna, what I like about her, is her personality. I liked how she was presented in Twilight Princess. I found that interesting, that she was a character who was a part of something different. She came from that. She had hardships because of that. And she comes into and again, I don't really remember Twilight Princess. I probably should have played that quickly today. Should have probably just sat down, played it for 13 hours and did this. Just sort of have a better idea of it. But whatever, I'm bullshitting this. She was an interesting sort of Navi type. A lot of the Zelda games have some sort of companion that you travel with. To be it Navi in Ocarina of Time, Tail in Majora's Mask, Talt. I'm not quite sure what the name of that particular fairy was, but the King of Red Lions in Wind Waker. He wasn't with you all the time, but he could talk to you through that pendant. The whatever the Minish cap is called, that little bird hat thing. That, there's just like a little companion, or whatever, that travels with you through the game, that gives you certain info and things like that. She was one of the more interesting ones, because it was interesting, very interesting. Twilight Princess, to just move on to the game itself. Twilight Princess, like I'm certain many other 15-year-olds, was one of my favorite games at the time. I thought it was fucking epic. And I think it was the first video game that actually made me go, wow, those are good graphics on the GameCube of all things. And it wasn't released it was released in one of those weird interim periods where the Wii was coming out. And so it was we've developed this for GameCubes, but let's just sort of put it on the Wii as well because it's close enough. I think it was that sort of situation. This is random, but I remember bragging that I would get Twilight Princess on the GameCube, and then I would also get a Wii and another additional copy of Twilight Princess. I was bragging about that to a friend, just completely talking out of my ass. And thinking about that now, it's why would I be happy to have two different copies of the game? That's completely silly. Oh, and a brief aside here. At some point, I do want to talk about the type of coloring / cell shading / rendering I'm doing here. I'll talk about that a little bit if I can. I may not have time, but to quickly go through what I think of Twilight Princess, and I guess the Legend of Zelda series as a whole. I liked Twilight Princess a lot when it came out. I'm certain I played through it a dozen times. I'm very certain of that. But probably towards the end of those many playthroughs, when I was probably getting older or whatever, what I realized about Twilight Princess was that, compared to other Zeldas, that it's probably one of the easiest Legend of Zeldas there ever was. It is almost pathetically piss easy. And I knew I felt frustrated because of that, because it wasn't, there was more I wanted out of it, but I was like, well, I play through it to experience it, but it doesn't really, there's no real challenge or thing I'm trying to surmount, which I realize now is something I sort of want out of video games. And I guess it's this sort of genre. I guess I guess you could call it hack and slash or something like that. You know, sort of the or one of the core genres in The Legend of Zelda. Besides, like, a lot of Nintendo games are basically genres inside of themselves because they're so old, iconic, or unique, like Pikmin or Mario or whatever. But Zelda the 3D Zeldas at least, they have a level of hack and slash, action adventure, Metroidvania in a way. And again, Twilight Princess was probably one of the absolute easiest ones to a T, you know, and I didn't do much of the, I guess, bonus content, additional content, and things like that, you know, running around collecting heart pieces and other upgrades. I know there was probably, I think there was a challenge cave or something that you could go through, or something, some sort of pit of challenges or whatever. I'm certain I did that, and that's probably the hardest thing in the game. It wasn't there like 3 of the dark nuts or whatever at the last level, something like that, you know. But just playing through the game straight, it's the biggest flaw is that it's so easy, you know. But I mean, easy games can still be fun, but a game like that, it feels like it needs more, to me at least. Another brief thing is, I feel a lot of people might dig on the game a little bit, might criticize it a bit for its opening structure being sort of a slog, and I can get that, you know. A lot of Zeldas, you jump into it and within like at least 15 minutes, you're basically in the first dungeon. A lot of them are like that. But in a short interim, you're doing like the pre-dungeon area, trying to figure out how to get to the dungeon, then you're in the dungeon. With Twilight Princess, there's that long section where you're in like the opening Odon village or something like that. And then the Tweely invade, the bad things invade. Then you're a wolf. Then you're in the castle. Then you have to go to Kakarita village. Then you're killing a bunch of bugs or whatever. And then eventually you become a human or whatever. And then I think you're going through like the dungeon with the monkeys or something. I don't remember this game at all, but it has a very long opening act. I'm very certain of that. But I like that. I've played enough Legend of Zelda games to feel like they have a very set rhythm of pre-dungeon, you know, new area. What's the problem? There's the problem in the dungeon. You know, go to the dungeon, solve it. And it's that sort of flow that's repeating. And I always really appreciate it. And that's a problem I find with a lot of games is they have a very rigid structure. And this may have been just something that games did sort of into like up to like, I guess, the late 2000s, 2010s, because, and I mean, games still do it because it's just that's how you design a game. There is a certain sort of flow to the game that takes you all the way to the end, and then you get there. But I appreciate that they had that long opening sequence, because that feels like it feels like a story. It feels interesting. There's things happening. I'm like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. What am I going to be challenged with next? And then you actually get to the sort of the main common structure of a Zelda game, which is, okay, pre-dungeon area, dungeon, pre-dungeon area, dungeon. That's not bad. You know, I mean, I love Ocarina of Time. I love the flow of that game, but am I going to play it again after I've played through it so many times and gotten through all the dungeons over and over again? You know, maybe once every like 5 years, because at that point you've done what I've done now with Twilight Princess. I've forgotten so much of it that playing through it again will be fresh to me in a way. So maybe I should go find some time to play Twilight Princess again, but I appreciate that Twilight Princess has that more open structure in the beginning, you know, like that. If you've been paying attention to the video at all, watching it whiz by, all the art and stuff, you may notice I'm doing something sort of weird, or I was doing something very weird with all that sort of polygon selection shading I was doing. This is sort of a style I've been thinking about a lot, and it's inspired by something else. But if anyone knows, I did a picture of Ganondorf a while back as part of Oni Plays slightly artistic thing, their prompts they do, where they do the video, and them, Corey, and sorry dude, I'm forgetting, they draw a bunch of just stupid dumb images, and here we can see the completed image. They draw those stupid dumb images, you know, but they're like funny, so it's funny, you know. You just draw the most horrendous thing you could think of and just paste it onto a like Mario or something. It's funny. But I drew a picture of Ganondorf, and I based it heavily on the actual in-game model of him of Ocarina of Time. And since I've done that and a little bit before, I've been thinking to myself, like, I really want to try an art style that emulates the actual look of the model, the 3D model with all of its like crappy polygons or whatever. And these are from games from like early 3D games, so like Nintendo 64, PlayStation. I've been wanting to emulate that art style for a while because it's interesting to me. And this particular rendering style I'm doing is a offshoot of that I picked up from a video I watched by Marco Bucci or something like that, where he does this sort of polygon selection shading or whatever. And I really like the look of what he created with that. So I eventually combined that with the art style of sort of drawing the actual model of like an older game, like at least pre-GameCube or whatever, or whatever that generation GameCube was in, and combining it with this polygon shading style, this polygon selection shading style. I think it's a good match, and it's something I've been really wanting to work on, and I just haven't had any time to do it. But this was an attempt to do the latter half of that. The line art here doesn't really represent the what I'm exactly going for, but just whatever. I did this whole painting really fast. This artwork really fast. Just I think 5-ish hours or so. And I mean, I quite like how it ended up. The pure black areas I'm not too big of a fan on. I maybe want to change those, but whatever. I don't have time to fix anything. Because I just wanted to put a video out. I wanted to put a video out every single month, and this is November's video. But like I said, everyone, I have a Patreon now. I'm going to link it. Please go to it and maybe consider giving me $2 a month, or maybe $5, or maybe $10. There's some things there you can look into that sort of offset that. And I haven't added anything else to it because there really hasn't been any interest in the Patreon. So I'm like, not too interested in that. But hopefully once I get at least a couple people in there, I'm like, okay, there's at least a reason for me to do this, you know. And again, I'm going to keep trying to do this as much as I can, but you know, I need to pay various bills and things, so other types of commission work take priority over any of my original stuff. So if you like my original stuff, I'd really appreciate it. You took a little old trip down to Patreon and just, you know, subscribe to the $2 tier or something like that, or just watch one of these videos for like 6 hours straight, repeating it over and over with ad block off. You know, either one of those will really help me out, you know. Really help me out. But anyway, thanks for watching the video, guys. You know, you can subscribe, you can like the video, you can fuck off, whatever. I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.